Earlier this month, Discussing Film reported that the live-action Tangled remake was getting the shelf. And I say this is cause for celebration, until I realize that Lilo and Stitch's live-action remake is still coming out. Oh dear. Okay, so these remakes have been absolutely dreadful, each one getting duller, dumber, and more lifeless as time goes on. Snow White is another ugly film with a mediocre at best plot, but let's dive into what we are all thinking about with the remakes. I'm talking about, is there a future for the Disney remakes, and what Disney should be doing? While Tangle got shelved again, Disney is probably waiting for their return on investment for their other projects, let's not kid ourselves. The guys in suits have already sunk their money into Lilo and Stitch. A negative return on investment is better than an even more negative return on investment. Snow White's return on investment was bad. I think Lilo and Stitch will be the big deciding factor. To my knowledge, I don't think any other remakes have reached anything more than pre-production. If Lilo and Stitch does well, the failures of Snow White will be dismissed as, okay, that was just a one-off fluke. Now, this doesn't mean, hey, we're going to get a full slate of remakes hit willy-nilly again. No, other remakes such as The Little Mermaid 2023 did fail to meet expectations. Now, failing to meet expectations does not mean being a box office bomb, although all box office bombs do fail to meet expectations. It's just that it didn't meet the projected numbers that the guys in suits made. When the guys in suits aren't getting their return on investment, it normally means some kind of creative shakeup. This doesn't mean they'll go back to making animated films and being really creative. I'm not on cactus juice here. They'll just take the path of least resistance. The Little Mermaid may have performed well but not reached expectations like the guys in suits were asking for. But assuming that Mufasa the Lion King did meet the projected expectations, and Lilo and Stitch fails to meet expectations but does well enough to actually make a profit, I do foresee a shift towards the spin off properties of these live action remakes. And in the case of Mufasa the Lion King, the live action is in quotation marks. These are the guys in suits after all. They already have the infrastructure down for making live action remakes. They already have the templates for whatever letters they want to write in order to get to people to make these. They probably have a lot of CGI assets because, let's face it, all these movies look the same ugly shade of bleh. So, they're probably just going to make spin offs. Now, I can't say this with 100% certainty because I do not run Disney after all. I do, however, think that this is probably the least stressful path for Disney investors in order to get their money back. There is a familiar property, and everyone knows what The Lion King is. So, it feels natural to do some spin offs. Just ride the coattails of an already recognized brand. So, let's see what possible spin offs they could make. I mean, it's not like Disney has a small stack of mediocre to dreadful sequels they could probably cannibalize in order to make something out of them. I mean, let's be real here. Kiara, from the Lion King sequel and The Lion Guard, which is also a sequel, but that's a Disney Junior series, ends up appearing in Mufasa the Lion King. And it's not just her who appears. Her brother also appears. Granted, he's never named, he's just referred to as Kiara's brother, but still, what the heck? Obviously, I feel like they are going to try to expand and capitalize on the sequel material because, after all, if you have lore sitting around, why wouldn't you cannibalize that in order to tell your own story? Now, where do I sit on this? I will say that the properties where they took one of their characters that are iconic and tried to put a spin on it, I feel like they did those pretty well. For the most part. Cruella, that was a movie I actually really enjoyed up until the part where all of you know where I stopped enjoying it. I did not enjoy Maleficent, and I did not enjoy Maleficent Mistress of Evil any more than that. In fact, I felt like I enjoyed it less. So, where do I believe Disney should go with the live action remakes? Well, for one, I don't think that they should be live action, and two, I feel like they need to get a way better color palette and art direction other than this hideous monstrosity they've been putting out. But I'm with the rest of the internet here. Remake the garbage, the forgotten films, the films that either have only cult followings or are just really bad and no one wants to follow them. Black Cauldron is often used. Make the Horned King something worthy of his design because he really doesn't do that much, he just looks cool. Atlantis the Lost Empire would also be another good candidate. Because when you're remaking something like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, or The Little Mermaid, or Beauty and the Beast, the bar is in heaven. So, when you're remaking something like The Black Cauldron, pop culture generally holds that The Black Cauldron nearly killed Disney in the 80s because it failed. Failed badly. And for people who actually watched the movie, like me, it's just a mediocre movie in general. It's really forgettable, not to mention the animation isn't even that good, even by the 80s standards. I think Transformers the movie had better animation than what I recall from actually watching this film. So there you have it. The bar for this movie is on the ground. Try not to trip over it. So you can reframe this movie when you remake it as something new, something different. Hell, you've already done this as a company. 2016's Pete's Dragon was a remake. Oh, sorry, what was it a remake of? Something pretty freaking obscure, I'll tell you that. But let's be realistic here. Let's be honest here. One bad movie, like The Black Cauldron in the 1980s, that nearly broke Disney as a company. Nowadays, Disney is not like that. The Marvels certainly did not meet the numbers that Disney wanted them. In fact, it was a box office bomb. The problem is that Disney has expanded so much that a lot of the damage that can be done from losing all this money can simply be compartmentalized to like one part of the body that is Disney. While I can't say that this completely was insulated, the writer's strike did cause a lot of issues behind the scenes. You can't really advertise a movie when all the people doing a press tour are currently striking. Not to mention, Disney did have to cancel a bunch of projects because time is money. I know in their TV department they had a lot of cancellations around the 2023-2024 days, which is not a coincidence given the whole, yeah, we just lost a ton of money because everyone was on strike thing. We'll see where this goes. I am still in the camp that believes that, hey, the live action remakes are not getting viable, they are bringing in less money, so we're going to do something that is live action adjacent because they still did bring in money, and do spin-offs of them. Probably mine the lore of the animated extended universe, I guess, in order to tell an original story. As opposed to what I want them to do and remake all the obscure or obscure trashy stuff that they should be remaking. And please, I just want a Fantasia if we're doing any animated products anymore. Just a Fantasia. Give us a new Fantasia. Those are just my thoughts. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.